what's up guys, it's Paco here, and right now I'm on my way to California. I'm going to LA to drop a car at RS, you know, Sam's mysterious job, which we should know what's going on pretty soon. I'm gonna drop a car that they got from Arizona. So I picked it up and I'm delivering over there, and while I'm there I'm gonna grab a 2JZ engine, which is going in the Corvette. So with that being said, some updates and questions I've been getting on the comments and all that stuff. So like, I've seen a lot of people commenting stuff saying like, oh, you know, like 2JZ engine on a Corvette, it has been done before. Like, yeah, sure. I mean, like, I'm not trying to claim that I'm the first person to put a 2JZ on a Corvette or anything like that. I do believe and I hope this is the first Corvette drifting with a 2JZ, because I've seen a C3 Corvette with a 2JZ that it's a drag car. It's a, you know, it's like a, I don't know, maybe 1,000 horsepower drag car. I think it even popped wheelies and everything. So that car, I mean, it's super cool and everything. I'm not aware of any other Corvette with a 2J that is actually built specifically for drifting. So I mean, I'm not claiming, like, it's not like I'm trying to say I'm the first one, I have the craziest idea. Not really. I mean, I just like the idea of doing something that is not being done too often. Like a lot of people still is saying, like, why don't you just put an LS engine? Like, yeah, I mean, like, I would love to put an LS engine on that car as well. The thing is, like, every Corvette, every old Corvette that gets rebuilt or something, they either go with the factory engine or they put an LS engine. So putting an LS engine on a Corvette is like, I mean, it's just another Corvette. It's just another build with a 2JZ engine. So I don't find that as exciting and different as a Corvette with a 2JZ. So definitely wanted to be different, wanted to be original. Again, I'm not trying to claim to be the first person to do it, and 100% I claim that I'm definitely influenced by that Mustang on Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. That one is, like, to the day, is one of my favorite classic cars. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, it's a Mustang Fastback, like I think it's like a 67, 68, I'm not sure what year it is. And it has an RB25. It has Volk wheels, if I'm not mistaken. I love it. I think it's a super cool car. Looks green, kind of like Bullet's Mustang from the movie Bullet with Steve McQueen. So I thought it was a very cool idea, you know, like to do something different and something that would make sense. If you're in Japan and you just have a shell, you just grab whatever you have most commonly available. So RB26 makes perfect sense. And Mustangs at some point had inline sixes too. First generation Mustangs, they were available with an inline six or with a small block V8. So it kind of makes sense, other than the engine being Japanese. Same with the Corvette. The Corvette, first generation, the very first Corvettes actually came out with a fuel-injected inline six known as the Blue Flame. So that thing only made what, like probably like 150 horsepower, maybe. I'm not sure, but it wasn't the, by any chance, it wasn't the best option for that car, and they eventually put a V8, and then it became the great car that it is. So I remember I saw the guys from Jalopnik made an article about putting inline sixes on Corvettes, which I personally don't think it's a good idea, as in, like, from factory, you know, like I remember there was a time where I said that I would never swap an engine on a car that has less cylinders than what that car had originally. So, for example, like when I had my Datsun, my 280Z, car came with an inline six, and a lot of people was telling me just put an SR20, and I'm like, no, I'm never gonna put a smaller engine. But with in this case, the 2JZ and the LS are both extremely capable engines. They're proven, they are reliable, and what I'm looking for is the sound of a 2J, the turbo, the anti-lag, like all that cool stuff that a lot of people like from 2Js. I'm looking for that on a Corvette, and particularly on a 70s Corvette, which this one is an 82, but it's the last generation of the 70s Corvettes. Some of the other questions that I got is like how much power I'm hoping to make on that car. And honestly, like I'm not a big fan of crazy horsepower. I think that just like unless you have unlimited tires and a guy that is ready to rebuild your engine anytime, I personally think 400 to 500 horsepower is more than enough. It's enough to have fun, enough to be competitive in Pro-Am, and at some point even competitive at Pro 2. Not that I'm trying to compete with this car, but I want it to be a spec build. Like I want it to be at least to comply with Formula Drift rules as far as how it's built, just to prove a point, to prove that older cars can be built into newer race cars that will still be interesting. If you guys remember, a while ago there was a 67 Camaro, a Falcon Camaro on Formula Drift, which I thought it was like one of the coolest things ever. And I personally like old cars. I would like to see more old cars drifting. I think it's cool to see unusual cars, and I definitely like, I never seen a C3 competing or like actually like purposely drifting. I've seen videos people doing donuts around the parking lot and stuff like that, but I definitely want to be able to put big angle. There's a lot of room to work, so I think it can be done. I want to put like some sick wheels. I think I'm leaning for Workmeisters. At some point I would love to get Advent Supers, you know, the 3-spoke Advents with a very deep lip. So we'll see. I mean, obviously I'm trying to this will depend on where can I get a better deal, or if there's anybody interested on working with me on this project. I'll be more than willing to work with somebody to get some wheel sponsors. So we'll see. Right now I'm still not pushing for any sponsors. I want to have something more built, more solid before trying to ask for any kind of sponsorship. So one of the cool things that we're gonna do with the Corvette is so Rob Parsons, Chairslayer, he's gonna bring his 3D scanner. So this 3D scanner is like a handheld scanner, and he's gonna scan all the interior of the car. Pretty much the whole interior of the car is gonna be 3D scanned, and it's gonna put him on the computer, and he's going to design the roll cage on the computer. So the roll cage is gonna be designed to fit inside the 3D scanned vehicle. And once he has that design, he's gonna grab those pieces from the computer and cut it in pieces and bend them with his machinery, all CNC. It's pretty much gonna be all done by computer. And then he's gonna send me all the pipes, all the stuff that I'm gonna use to just pretty much put everything together, tack it, make sure everything fits fine, and weld it. So I think that's gonna be a cool, interesting thing to see. So as soon as he gets down, obviously gets down to Phoenix, we'll shoot some video to show how he does it. Rob is a freaking genius. He he's got the right mind for what he does. So he's gonna try to show how he does this kind of job, this kind of stuff. He's also gonna help me scan the outside of the car, and that's what I'm going to use to model all the carbon fiber flares and all the aero that I'm gonna make. I'm gonna design it all in CAD, and I'm going to get those parts 3D printed to make the plugs for the carbon fiber. So I know it's like a little bit of an ambitious project, but I went to school for this. This is what I'm an industrial designer. I learned all this stuff in school, and I just haven't been able to really use that much because with 2F everything has been sketched by hand, sculpt by hand, and then make molds. So hopefully with this with the Corvette it's gonna be a different story. It's gonna be something cool. What other questions I've been getting? Oh yeah, so like people has been asking me like what am I gonna do for suspension and all that stuff. So Corvettes have a leaf spring on the rear suspension instead of a coil spring. They literally sit on one single leaf spring that goes from left to right, from side to side of the car, and that leaf spring is where the suspension sits. So there's a few kits out there that help you replace all that for coilovers, and you can use all that to adjust, to make your suspension more adjustable. Surprisingly, those kits are not that crazy expensive. They're relatively affordable. So that's what I'm doing on the rear. And on the front, I think I'm gonna have to do some custom control arms. It has a double wishbone style suspension. It's got a wishbone on top, wishbone on the bottom, and I think they just need to be modified to be a little more narrow, so it allows for more steering angle. But fortunately, there's nothing around it. There's no wheel well in reality, so there's plenty of room to play with. And those cars came factory with a very, very wide front tire. So I'm trying to get something slightly more narrow that should allow to clear a lot more. I'm probably gonna have to cut and modify the knuckles, literally like the same style than a 240 knuckle, where you cut the steering links, short them out, and give you a little bit more angle. And I'm also switching to rack and pinion steering. Because this car, the Corvette had a pitman arm steering like a pickup truck, and I personally don't think that's very convenient for drifting. I want to be able to have more, a better feedback from the steering wheel, and I believe rack and pinion, it's a lot better. It's a better solution. It's more immediate. There's less parts, and also I think it allows for an easier either if I'm just gonna use a power steering pump from the 2J, or if I do an electric power steering pump like the ones from the MR2. Either way, it's gonna be a lot easier to adapt that with a steering rack, with a regular steering rack, which I already have. I have a lot of these parts already lying around. So differential, I think I'm just gonna stick with the factory differential. These cars had a factory LSD. I'm probably gonna break it open and refresh. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think these diff, you can take it apart and refresh the I think it has some discs, and I'm not sure. But if not, I mean, at least I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna service the diff, make sure that it locks properly. And if by any chance it doesn't work or something, I'm just gonna go with a welded diff, which should be okay. As far as gearing and all that, I'm not sure until the engine is in the car and I get to drive it and feel it. I'll I'll figure out if it needs any other a different kind of gear. As far as I understand, these cars they're kind of like low gear because they were very they didn't have a lot of power back then. I think the California Corvettes make like 180 horsepower, and the rest of the Corvettes make like 200, 210, something like that. So they had to have a very high gear on the rear end just to be able to get that feel of the torque, that immediate off the line jump that Americans are used to on their sports cars. So I think it should be okay. If not, I mean, if you guys know anything that I don't about Corvette differentials, please feel free to leave it on the comments and let me know what you think. Other thing, I do want to keep the T-tops as an option that you can just remove and put on. So like if it's a sunny day, if it's raining, whatever, I can just like put on the T-tops and not get wet while I'm sitting in the car. Fortunately, they're very light pieces. They're not. Once you remove all the decorative stuff, it's just a very light piece of fiberglass. Now the other thing, like a lot of people has been telling me, is the weight balance, because putting an inline-6, an iron inline-6 engine on the Corvette might throw the weight a little bit more towards the front, because it's a longer engine than the V8 that's gonna stick slightly more forward than where the V8 usually sits in these cars. So I'm definitely gonna try to tuck the 2J as much as possible closer to the firewall, which hopefully I'm not gonna have to do any kind of like crazy relocation of radiator, stuff like that. I think since I'm gonna remove the rear glass, I'm gonna put a plexi. There might be eventually I might end up moving the radiator to the back. As of right now, I have no plans of doing anything like that. We'll see. I'm not looking to go any competition anytime soon with this car, so it's not like I need to get like the maximum performance out of it like right off the box. So I definitely want to be able to put the car on the track, test it, get some professionals to drive it, to give me their feedback. And unfortunately, most of my experience with drifting, it's drifting the minivan, and the minivan is the worst vehicle you could learn how to drift, that you could get used to it, because it's totally the opposite of what you're used to. You're sitting pretty much in the front, on the front tires. There's not that much lateral feeling that you're sliding around. Obviously, it was very under power, very long wheelbase, so it's fun. Don't get me wrong, I love it. It's very fun. And once I put more power on it, when I put the 1J, I will definitely, I'm sure I'm gonna enjoy it a lot more. But I think the van definitely is not a good benchmark. And I drove another, like many other cars, like the LS400, way easier to drift than the van. My C5 Corvette, it was way easier to drift than the van. My CTS, it was just a V6 CTS with a manual transmission, way easier. That car was so much fun to drift. So I think I just need a good car, something that's prepared properly, in order to at least be able to slide properly as well. But anyways, back to the Corvette. I think that's pretty much it for now. As far as like aesthetics and all the other stuff, I mean, things are still, nothing's set on stone. If you guys saw that sketch, I'm gonna try to put it right here. If you saw that sketch that my buddy Jacob did, Jacob Cannon, those were pretty much like the colors that I was thinking. I told him I want like a blue, and like I like the color combination from the Skyline R34 GTR Nürburgring edition. It was like that blue with the wheels are like a bronze kind of color. So that's the color that I want to do the roll cage. That's the color I want to do the wheels and the engine cover, and pretty much like the accents are gonna be like that color, like bronze. I don't know exactly what kind of color, but it's like a lighter bronze, not too brown. And other than that, I mean, I'm gonna keep it as simple as possible. Just try to make it a bare bones vehicle. Like, nothing that is not needed is not gonna be there. Like, the only thing I might put in that car is gonna be a tape player, just because it's like an 80s car, and I might just put like an old deck with a tape player and a couple little speakers on the under the dash, and that'll be it. Like, I don't think I'm gonna be doing anything more than that. So with that said, I mean, just an update. Hopefully on my way back from California, I'll have this 2JZ engine with me, and we'll start like cleaning it and taking it apart and making sure everything's nice and fresh. And please let me know in the comments what you think, what I should do, or what am I missing that I should be looking for. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, I'm removing the whole body of the Corvette from the frame, because that's the only thing that I definitely want to do, because it's pretty cheap to get the whole frame sandblasted and powder coated. It's not that much money, and it's totally worth it. It changes everything, because now you have like a clean canvas where you start bolting parts, and you don't have grime falling on your face every time you go under the car. So other than that, yeah, so that's it. So again, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what I'm missing, what I should do, what would you like to see on the Corvette build. Next episode on Roofless Garage, I'm gonna be working on the van. I'm gonna start modifying the front subframe, the S14 front subframe, to start getting all the S14 suspension on the van. And with that being said, thanks so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.